welcome to the Headlines podcast, a podcast celebrating the best and the quirkiest stories in local journalism. My name's Chloe Leversuch. Hello folks. It's been about as an eventful week as you're likely to get in local news. On Monday, Prime Minister Boris Johnson put the UK in lockdown to tackle the coronavirus, announcing that police could fine anyone ignoring the measures. On Thursday, we were all on our doorsteps, clapping for the NHS and other key workers, those who are keeping the country going, keeping us all safe and looking after us if we do get poorly. And by Friday, Mr Johnson was announcing that he himself had tested positive for the virus. Inevitably, all the stories I've chosen to look at in this week's podcast are around coronavirus, but I have done my best to find the quirky and uplifting stories from local and regional newspapers, as well as some of the important and interesting stories. In this episode, we'll hear about a Dalek roaming the streets of a town in South Wales, warning residents to stay indoors, a woman dressing up as a dinosaur to cheer up her neighbours, and a woman who made a false leg for her husband from things she found in the shed. Links to all of the stories in this episode can be found in the description, or follow us on Twitter @TheHeadlinesPod. And as always, if you enjoy the podcast and want to keep seeing stories like this reported in the news, please do support your local paper by buying a copy, or visit online if you're self-isolating. Now, firstly this week, as most of us followed government advice to stay at home, a woman was spotted floating down a canal on an inflatable flamingo in Cumbria. The story is from the North West Evening Mail by journalist Erin Gaskell, and it includes a photo of a woman riding the flamingo down Ulverston Canal on a sunny day this week. The image sparked warnings from the tourist board and from police about what not to do during the coronavirus pandemic. A reader spotted the woman and sent the photo into the newspaper. She told them her instant reaction was that if the woman fell in, the rescue teams would have to be called, when services are already stretched, and they wouldn't know if she had the virus or not. Now, Tunnock's tea cake fans, it's not good news, I'm afraid. The factory that makes Tunnock's tea cakes and caramel wafers has shut down because of the coronavirus. But don't worry, Iron Brew production continues. Both of these stories are from Glasgow Live. The story, by journalist Craig Williams, says Tunnock's bosses closed the factory in Lanarkshire to prioritise the health and well-being of their 600 members of staff. The closure will be reviewed at Easter, and a spokesman said they hope to get the factory up and running again as soon as possible. Another article on the website, by journalist Gary Armstrong, says that manufacturers of Iron Brew will press on. An AG Bar spokesperson, that's the company that makes Iron Brew, told the paper the food and drink sector has an essential role to play, but stressed that strict safety measures are in place and staff safety is their number one priority. And next, a bit of a heartwarming coronavirus story from the news this week. West Midlands police officers mowed a 93-year-old woman's lawn for her as she was stuck indoors during the lockdown. The story is from the Birmingham Mail by journalist Tom Hitchener and James Roger. It says the police visited the woman while they were patrolling the streets to make sure that people are following coronavirus guidance. And she told them she was worried the garden was getting overgrown while she was in self-isolation. According to the article, police said they were still out there round the clock fighting crime, but that their mission to help those in need is now more important than ever. A Dalek has been enlisted to warn people to stay indoors during the coronavirus outbreak. I love this story, and this is not the first time this joke will be made, but I think they missed a trick by not having the Dalek shout, "Isolate, isolate." The story is from the Caerphilly Observer by journalist Rhys Williams, and there is a video of the full-sized motorised Dalek patrolling the streets and telling people to stay inside to help prevent the spread of the coronavirus. The article says the Dalek is owned by 39-year-old Ben Fletcher, who said he was using evil to do good. He told the newspaper that people are treating the outbreak like a holiday when it's not. But he said, "It's good for people to have a bit of fun. We haven't had anything like this since World War II." And since the video went up online, he's had requests from people to bring the Dalek to spread the message in other parts of the town. In a similar, but believe it or not, more sinister than a Dalek way, Neath Port Talbot Council has been warning people to stay at home this week. The council has enlisted drones to fly around broadcasting an automated message. It sounds silly, but the video is quite menacing. It's like something from a sci-fi movie. The story's from the South Wales Guardian by journalist Claire Snowdon. It says the local authority has teamed up with South Wales Police to survey hotspots where people are not following government measures on social distancing during the lockdown. The drone transmits the message, "This is a message from Neath Port Talbot Council. Please follow the government rules at this time. You must stay at home." And here we are. I can play you some of that drone footage from Neath Port Talbot Council. And a good news story here. More dogs and cats are being adopted from animal rehoming centres amid the coronavirus crisis. This story is from the Somerset County Gazette by journalist Shan Ali. Apparently there's been a big increase in the number of pets being rehomed. Battersea Dogs and Cats Home in South London found more than 150 dogs and cats a loving new home last week, with figures more than double the same week last year, according to the newspaper. Rob Young from the organisation said people might be looking for companionship from a pet while they're stuck at home, and that one consequence of the countrywide lockdown is that it gives people more time to settle a new pet into their home. One of the lucky pets was a dog called Tulip, who'd been waiting more than 100 days to find a home and finally left the centre last week. Currently the centre, like many animal rehoming centres, is closed due to the outbreak, but people can still start an application to rehome a pet online. Proof that some lovely people out there will do anything to cheer up their neighbours, a 43-year-old woman has been dancing around in a giant dinosaur costume to bring a smile to people's faces during the coronavirus outbreak. Gemma Whitten-Dews has even had a go at doing the Joe Wicks exercise routines dressed as a T-Rex. Everybody seems to be crazy for these daily Joe Wicks PE sessions on YouTube at the moment because we're all stuck indoors. The story is reported in the Banbury Guardian by journalist Matt Elefson. Gemma told the newspaper she was given the inflatable costume as a Mother's Day present. And she first caught the attention of her neighbours by wearing it to deliver a Mother's Day gift and card to her own mother. Now she's becoming known as G-Rex. She told the paper that people send her requests and she posts videos on Facebook. She's already walked past houses where her friends with children live. One person said G-Rex had made her and her husband's day while they were in lockdown. Gemma's also been helping people out with their shopping and with collecting their prescriptions during the crisis. One resident said Gemma had brought a smile to so many faces and that she's been actively helping the vulnerable, as well as posting her daily videos to cheer people up. New mums have been returning to work early to help East Midlands Ambulance Service fight coronavirus. This is a story by local democracy reporter Eddie Bisknell from the Derby Telegraph. It says the ambulance service has come under huge pressure since the outbreak. A senior officer told the newspaper the crisis is unprecedented and the worst he has ever seen. Peter Bainbridge, the service's operations manager, is telling people to follow advice to stay at home. He's been with the ambulance service for 26 years, worked through swine flu and bird flu, but said coronavirus is causing the most pressure the paramedics have ever faced. He told the paper it's a very stressful time for staff, who are also worrying about their own health, and that the team is relying on the goodwill of their staff. That includes people who are on maternity leave returning to work months early, and recently retired colleagues coming back to help pick up shifts. Mr. Bainbridge said his message to residents is, if you are continuing with life as normal, you're not listening. And finally this week, I thought the next story is both bizarre and really quite lovely. It's from the Northern Echo and it's about a woman who's made a prosthetic leg for her husband from things she found in the shed. The story is by journalist Gavin Havery. It says amputee Steve Watson was told he would have to wait 6 months for a false leg because of delays caused by the coronavirus. His wife, Achari, set straight to work after the couple received the disappointing news. The article says the first attempt featured a child's seaside bucket and a piece of wood, but that it made him look like a pirate. So she managed to adapt the design. Mr. Watson broke his leg when he jumped from a 5-foot-high wall and landed awkwardly, according to the newspaper. Doctors tried to reconstruct the limb but were unsuccessful, so his lower leg was amputated in January. Mr. Watson said after the family found out it could be the summer before he gets his prosthetic leg, his wife began rummaging through items in the shed. He said he thought she was joking when she told him she was going to make him a leg. So, prototype number 1, which he told the paper looked like something off a pirate ship, was a bit of a write-off. But his wife adapted an old moon boot, and now Mr. Watson says it works really well. He works as a teaching assistant at a school, and he's going back to work to teach the children of key workers who are still in classes. He said he wants to show pupils the homemade prosthetic, to show them what is possible if they don't give up. And he added that he knows the NHS has more important things to do than fit him with a prosthetic leg, saying, "There are people far worse off than me at the minute." And that's everything for this week. I really hope you enjoyed the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, thank you to my friend Dan Beam for his help. If you're interested in getting involved by sharing interesting local news stories from the week, please do get in touch on Twitter through @theheadlinespod. Thanks so much for listening, and do stay safe out there. I hope you'll be back for more next week. Bye.